Hello, options traders. So I want to share a new trade. This is in the start to finish series. I'm doing something a little different here, and I need to be very, very clear on this. So this is a trade that I do all the time. This is kind of my go-to trade that I trade personally for my income. But I trade these in some size, and this is obviously a paper trade here. I mean, I am trading this live, but here I've put in all my exact fill prices and everything on this trade, and I'll walk you through it from start to finish, good, bad, or otherwise. And these trades, you can certainly lose money on any trade you get into, but for me, I find this to be one of the more consistent trades that I perform out there. But again, this is trading a product called SPX, which is what's known as an index. It trades at 10 times the size of SPY. They call that the notional value. So the P&L diagram, if you look at this butterfly configuration, for example, of one SPY butterfly, is going to be 1/10 of the risk that an SPX butterfly has associated with it. Now, I'm trading multiple SPX butterflies here. So I'm doing a 30-lot butterfly trade. So what we need to understand about this is I'm putting on this butterfly at or near the money. In this case, I'm not totally centered. That really doesn't make a great deal of difference one way or the other. At the time I put this out there earlier today, it was closer to centered, but by the time I got filled, it was a little bit off center. So this butterfly, what I'm looking for, to be clear, I paid $19,000 for this trade. It has a max potential profit of 130. I am in no way, shape, or form looking to get anywhere close to that sort of number. That's not my objective here. My objective is to get around maybe 10-15% return on my money, and then move on to the next trade. Now, how do I get that? Well, first of all, let me back this up and show you what this T0 looks like. The T0 line, this dark green line. So right now, if the market were to pull back from here, this trade would be profitable. So right now, this trade is a slightly bearish trade. If I come and I specifically look at my delta, I am negative delta. That tells me that right now this is a slightly bearish trade. What I'm looking for is decay to happen in the butterfly over a period of time. Now, the other piece to this puzzle is I don't want it to be a negative delta trade. I like to trade largely delta neutral. So what do I do to make this a delta neutral trade? Right now it has a negative 46 delta. Well, here's what I do. I come out and I look for a long call, a single long call that will give me an amount of delta that will largely offset my current negative delta. So in this case, this one's 43 delta. So I'm going to buy that long call. Now I've already done that again, and my prices is all put in here, etc. So I'm now going to include that. So you can see when I include that, my delta is now essentially flat. So what that means is the market, in this case, the SPX, the S&P 500, that can float down, 150 points, and it won't have a huge impact on this trade. It can float up 150 points, not have a huge impact on this trade. That's the price movement piece of the puzzle. But I also need to state that an implied volatility shift will have a big negative impact on this trade. If volatility were to go up from here, which it could, and I have to be prepared for that. If volatility goes up, this trade starts showing some loss real quickly. So now, if I'm still under the tent, I don't necessarily get overly concerned about that, because Volatility is one of those things that does tend to come and go. So long as I still have the same market opinion that I'm largely going to trade in a range here, I don't get overly concerned about that change in volatility. Now, if volatility were to drop here over the next few days, again, I wouldn't expect it to drop much because it's fairly low right now, but if volatility were to drop, I mean, I can be up $1,500, $1,600 in this trade rather quickly. So those are the things that I have to keep in mind, that I have to look at. Now, I went out here to October 20th, which is 37 days out. I usually have a number of these on, and I've got them on spaced at different intervals in time, so that the ones that are now shorter dated, as they get closer to expiration, they have more, what we talked about the other day, gamma, which means that a move in the market is going to impact them more. And the ones that are further out in time have less gamma associated with them, meaning that the price can float a little bit more without really having a lot of impact in the underlying. So again, this is a total paper trade. Absolutely, under no circumstances should anyone be making this as a live trade in any size for that matter, because if you did this, one of the questions I often get is, if I were to scale this back to do just one of these, well, at that point, you'd only have about $200 in risk in the trade, which is good. However, I said $200, $2,000. However, you can't offset that with just a single long call. You would be way too bullish, way too skewed, that it would not operate the same way. The key here with a butterfly long call configuration is you have to put on your butterflies in a size that you can then neutralize the negative delta with a long call that is close to where the tent is. Because if we get a long call, if you have to go all the way out here to 46, 4,700, whatever, to try to neutralize that, that's not going to work for you, because if the price does in fact move up in the market, you're going to end up here with a valley of death. This is going to sag way too much in here, and it will not be that long call won't be effective in this trade. It won't have the impact that we want and need it to have of offsetting this butterfly structure. So just wanted to share that with everyone, and I will update as I adjust this. Usually my method of adjusting this is I simply come in and I start to thin this trade. As this trade advances in time, I can just march this forward a little bit in time, and we get up to here where we have, maybe a couple $1,000s or so in profit in this trade. But I'm also sagging out here. My T0 line starts to sag out here. So if the market did rip up big time, I could be starting to suffer a little bit of a loss out here. When that occurs, I will usually strip out some of my butterflies. So right now I've got 30. Maybe I'll close out 5 of my butterflies and lock in profit. And then another week goes by, maybe I'll close out another 5, lock in a little more profit. So over the next 30 days, I'll just be thinning this trade down to where it finally gets closed well in advance of expiration. I don't like taking these to expiration because, as I've explained before, and this is a personal preference, you get closer to expiration, you end up with something like this, where, if the market goes from 44.60 down to 44.40, I just gave back $50,000. I don't want to be in that position. I mean, I'd love to have the $50,000, but at the same time, I don't want to be sitting here trading. My heart can't take that to where a 10-point move, which can happen in the blink of an eye, impacts my P&L that much. That is not what I want. I want this to where if the market moves 10 points, I go from 2,400 to, volatility just changed there. So I go from 1,100 to 1,150. It's not a significant impact. And you will also, as you've noticed while I've been doing this recording, you will see this P&L bounce all over. That you just saw that big bounce there. That's because of the bid-ask spread. Particularly as we get later in the day here, those bid-ask spreads will widen out a little bit. And that bid-ask spread will cause this thing, particularly when you have this many of anything, just a little tick in that bid-ask spread, if it widens out by 10 cents or something, that can have a huge impact in what's showing as your P&L. So the other important reason that I never want to be in a situation like this with high gamma is I could be chasing to try to get out of a trade. I never want to be chasing to get out of a trade. I want to be able to put out a GTC order, a good till canceled order, and I want to be able to just patiently sit there, let the market gyrate up and down over a period of maybe a couple days, maybe a week, whatever. And when I get filled, I get filled. That's how I want to trade. I never want to be in a situation of looking, oh my gosh, this thing's going against me. I just gave up, $100, $500, whatever that number is, to where I start to panic, and then I'm willing to change the price that I'm willing to accept to my detriment. I never want to be in that position in a trade. So with a trade like this, because it's not impacted much by the movement of the market, it is impacted by volatility and time. I can just put my order out there. I can set and wait, and whenever I get my fill, I get my fill. So this is going to be the next in the Start to Finish series, and I just thought I would share one of my actual trades. And if people like this, please comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know questions, things like that. And I can't get into the full-on strategy because that takes hours, but I'll try to answer any questions that I can. Thanks.